One of my favorite things about the Fallout series is that we get to see a civilization that is completely restarted. A great traumatic event happens, the Great War, and then we get to see how civilization comes back, is renewed, endures. And half of the fun of that for me is seeing where they live. When we get to see DC, for instance, seeing the capital of the nation destroyed, getting to see that LA, a metropolis, is now referred to simply as the Boneyard, or you get to see something like a baseball stadium turned into a thriving city surrounded by giant monsters. All of that is so interesting to me. That's a huge reason why I love the series. And one of the most interesting parts is whenever the DLC comes out, you get to see other parts of America, other parts of civilization, almost in like a snapshot form, where you get to just see this little bit right here that is just this little area. So today, what I have for you is a tier list of all of the DLCs, all of the Fallout DLC. Now, there's only 3 games that really get DLC, so the rules for this tier list are going to be 1 S rank for all of them, and I'm not including 76 because I don't think it will be canon long term, and I'm not playing it. The Brotherhood doesn't belong in Appalachia. Also, I'd love to know what you think, so go ahead and leave your tier list there in the description. There will be a link to the exact tier list that I used for this. Go ahead and join the Discord. There's a link in the description to it. Send me yours. Let's talk about it. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know how other people feel, because I have a feeling my list might piss some people off. So I'm going to start. It's randomized. Completely randomized from when I got it on the site. I'm going to start with Broken Steel. I'm going to put Broken Steel in B tier. It's fine. The original Fallout games ended. They just stop. When you get to the end of the game is over. That's what they were going for with Fallout 3. Todd Howard has said that. I get people want to continue playing, especially since it's an open world game. So I don't think the criticism of, hey, I want to keep playing, this isn't a finished game, I don't think that's a really fair criticism. And also I think you can kind of tell that by the content of Broken Steel. It's not a super duper completely fleshed out idea. It's fun. I like it. I enjoy it. But it's not as thought out as the rest of the game. There's also like the whole orbital strike thing. I don't feel like that's necessary. It's cool. It just seems like the Enclave the entire time had a way to stop the Brotherhood, and how do you kind of come off of a high like Liberty Prime? And I kind of feel like that's a big problem. Moment of silence for Liberty Prime real quick. The high that was Liberty Prime walking through DC to destroy the Enclave, then for it to happen again for him to die, and then for you to blow up the missile command, it's cool. In theory, it seems fun, it was fun, but like, you can tell they made this because people wanted more. And no matter who you choose for the ending, you pretty much have to go with the Brotherhood of Steel, because if I remember correctly, even if you go with the Enclave still hunts you down. So, it's why it's B tier. It's mid. It's fine. Next up, we have Nuka World. I'm putting this one directly into A tier. There's a lot of lore-breaking stuff in Nuka World, like why is there XO1 power armor with a quantum skin? I hate that. I can't stand that. But there's a lot of stuff in there that's really cool. I like the world building of it. I don't understand why this massive theme park would be in Boston, in Massachusetts of all places. My friends had a running theory that Nuka World was going to be Coney Island. I don't know why we had that idea. I don't know where it came from. But we thought it'd be cool that if it was like, here's Nuka World, it's built off of Coney Island, it's still Coney Island but a theme park, and then like there's a vault there. We thought that would be, we weren't wrong with the vault being there, we were wrong with pretty much everything else. It's neat that it kind of gives you the option to play as a raider, even though you're not really a raider. The only real consequence is that like Preston Garvey gets a little angry at you. That's really it. It adds some late game stuff that's fun. I like the factions, but the Sarah Petrovita quest may be one of my favorite Fallout quests ever, strictly for world building. Just for seeing what happened in this world, seeing what happened to her. I don't want to spoil the quest, but like seeing how the government involvement with Nuka World and Nuka Cola and all. Bethesda relies way too heavily on its iconography of the Brotherhood and Nuka Cola, but this one just feels right to me. Next up is the Pit, and I know a lot of people love the Pit. I'm putting it in B. It's going to go right there in B tier. I love the new location. Growing up in Pennsylvania, knowing that, like, here's this thing that's like 5 hours from you that you could go to. That's an awesome feeling. I love the hole in the pit. I think more games, especially these open world RPG type games, I feel like stuff like Fallout or Elder Scrolls or The Witcher or like even Assassin's Creed to an extent would really, really benefit from having like, here's 40 guys, go fight them. That's my favorite part. Like if you add that, grappling hooks, and New Game Plus, I'm pretty much gonna love your game. But I remember when this came out, there was a huge glitch that you have to put all of your stuff into a trunk, and that you could lose most of your stuff doing that, and that's why it's B. I'm not sure if it ever got patched out. Knowing Bethesda, I wouldn't be surprised if it did. But also I have to mention the trogs and the steel ingots. That is an exercise in futility and torture that I never pass up. As many times as I've replayed the Pit, there is something so satisfying about getting that tribal power armor and the perforator and just killing all those trogs. I don't know what it is, but it's something that's just magic. Next up, we have Old World Blues, and this one might get me crucified. It's going in C tier. You can beat this entire DLC in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's not including the half an hour of dialogue when you first get there. But it relies way too heavily on redo this, redo that, do this again, do this for the third time, to kind of pad out its timing. I love the lore that's in there. I love the world building. I love the lore of Father Elijah and Christine and how they all come together, and Ulysses and all of that, and how it's all intertwined into Old World Blues. At the same time, it doesn't feel very Fallout-y to me. It feels too wacky, which I know that's gonna, again, I know this is the one that's gonna get me crucified. I just don't have that much to say about this. You get the armor from Dead Money, which is cool. You get to find out a little bit more lore on it. You get to see all these other cool things. You get to experience the doctors of the think tank, and I to this day, I say, I'm thinking of a raisin when I like to do something, when I'm trying to, like, shit like that sticks with you, and it stood with me. But it's a C tier. It's C. It's not that great. I think everybody overhypes it. Next up, I have Courier Stash, and in my notes, I actually didn't even rank it. I'm gonna put this one, not at the bottom, but one below the bottom. It's not bad. The only thing about it is it gives you the Caravan Pack, the Mercenary Pack, the Classic Pack, and the Tribal Pack, which were all just pre-order bonuses. Like, I remember getting mine at GameStop and getting the Classic Pack and having the Armored Vault Suit and having the Weather 10 mil and the trusty Canteen. I don't really, like, it doesn't add really anything else. There's even, if you get the Josh Sawyer mod, that, like, turns the game a little more difficult and a little more what they wanted. You don't even get those at the start of the game, which is cool. You have to go find them, which is really cool. So for that, like I said, bottom of the list, not the very, very bottom rung, but one above. Next up, I have Dead Money, and honestly, this could have been my S. Depending on the day, depending on where I am mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, like, this could be the S. I love the themes of greed. I feel like the entire series is kind of about greed. It's about capitalism being bad. Here's a bad meme of capitalism bad. This just shows that no matter how far you run, the problem follows you unless you decide to address it. You get to see these characters, especially someone like Dean Domino, who's been kind of running from the problem his entire life, these 200 plus years. You get to see how Dog just wants a master, and you see how God is just the entire other side. You get to see abuse, you get to see the influence of power, how power can be an awful thing for some people. You get to see regret, you get to see opulence, like everything about this DLC is near perfect. It does drag a little bit, it is a little too overly hard for some reasons. Some of it, I wish Christine's dialogue stood on screen a little longer, because you can barely read what she has to say because it goes so quick. But this DLC is almost perfect. I love it. This is one that I get a lot of shit for too, for loving, but it reminds me so much of Fallout 1. That crushing difficulty, that brutal just outlook on everything is dying and I don't know what to do. I very much enjoy Dead Money, and that's why it's A rank. Next up is Automatron. I don't remember who the Mechanist is. I have it at a C. Automatron is C tier. I do not remember who the Mechanist is. I remember there was a ton of hype around it. Who could it be? Who is it? Who won't it be? This and that. And then it was just like, oh, it's this person. It wasn't anybody from Canterbury Commons that I remember. I don't remember who it is. All I remember is you either get the workshop, and I don't even think you can make robots at this point. I don't think that's till, or can you? No, you can make robots. I apologize. This is the DLC where you can, like, make robots. So you can turn Cogsworth into, like, a sentry bot. That's cool. That's tight. It's C tier. The Vault-Tec Workshop DLC, I have that at C tier. I'm probably one of the only people who, like, actually likes this DLC. It's not great. It's okay. It's C tier. But I like that it opens up the entirety of the underground of the map. Not the entire thing, but a sizable portion. I also haven't played this since it pretty much came out. I cleared out the underground and then built one structure and stopped playing. It's not a bad DLC if you're into building and you're into like the role play of wanting to make your own vault, but a lot of it doesn't make sense lore-wise to me. Like, here's this woman who's now a ghoul, who's now the overseer, but like, why do you care? The world has ended, Vault-Tec has failed, they've taken advantage of people for money. Why do you still want to do this? C tier. Far Harbor. It's B tier, it's fine. It's Point Lookout 2. It's neat. I don't hate it. I like finding out about Dima and Nick, but if, like, you don't go there with Nick, you lose a ton of lore, and I guess that's to promote going back and doing the DLC again and again, but at the same time, the game gives you Old Longfellow, so it's like, hey, go do Old Longfellow activities, so why would I think to bring Nick when that's promoted? There's also that whack building puzzle thing you have to do to get Dima's memories. It's fine. I haven't really played it since it came out, and when it came out, you couldn't play it on PlayStation. It just didn't work. You had to, like, look down and run, and it's okay. It added some story, it added some choice, but it wasn't... Contraptions Workshop, I had no recollection of this existing. I don't know if anyone's even really played this. Let me Google the synopsis of this. As the name suggests, Contraptions Workshop adds several gizmos and gadgets to enhance one's settlements. There are new structures including buildings, elevators, and track kits. The add-on also features manufacturing machines, conveyor belts, and display cases. So I guess I did use this to display, like, some of my armor, like when I would get a unique piece. But I thought that was base game. So, I don't know. This is D. This is bottom of the list. Gunrunner's Arsenal coming up next. I'm putting it at C tier. It's okay. It's fine. It added more weapons, it added more ammo, it added more mods, and it added the challenges, and some of the challenges are really cool. Like the No Gods, No Masters, killed Mr. House with the golf club is the first one I always think of. The caravan challenges, all that fun stuff. But it doesn't add anything about the gun runners themselves. And that's what I feel like is a huge missed potential. Why not have some more lore on the gun runners? Why not, even if it's just that you could like go in there and talk to them, find out about their contract they have with the NCR to sell them weapons, not exclusively, but to sell weapons to people and to the NCR. Like, why not have like a little quest where if you're Legion or NCR affiliate or neither, you can go in there and be like, hey man, maybe do this or maybe do that, and like then you get better prices. Like, I don't know, I feel like it was a missed potential. It's one of my favorite factions in the game, the gun runners, because they're very much you, I'm gonna go make guns, stay the away from me. And then the followers, and if they could like team up in some way, the Wasteland, they'd conquer.
By the rivers of Babylon there we sat down, yea, we wept, when we remembered Zion. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it even to the foundation. O daughter of Babylon, who ought to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us.
Next up I have Point Lookout, which I'm putting right there in A tier. I like that it's a new place to explore. I like that it's different. It's still green and gray, which is Fallout 3's palette. I don't mind that. I just like that it's a whole new area. It has its own ecosystem, it feels like. It has that cult of the punga fruit. It has everything that I could really, really want for a DLC, and I'm super, super happy with that. It's incredibly hard. It gives you new weapons. It's not too much, like it's just enough. Like it gives you enough to explore, it gives you reason to go back every once in a while just to walk around and shoot irradiated inbred hillbillies. I just kind of really dig on swamps and bogs. I feel like swamps and bogs are like a top tier. I also really like the character that is Desmond. I like that whole, when you get to the mansion, the whole shootout in the beginning and then it explodes. Like all of that is such a good time. You could tell they obviously wanted to go more cinematic, and I think the Bethesda games as of late, Starfield hasn't come out yet, but you can feel this more want to be cinematic, this more want to have more of a build of the world, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. I should probably actually talk about this. Graham is probably one of my favorite Fallout characters ever, like by far. I love the world building around him, around Ogden, around the Great Salt Lake, around religion. I feel like if there's anything that's kind of neglected is the old world religions, and to see how that is reflected in this new era, this new post-war world. The only time you really ever get to see anything like it is when you see Nick Valentine pray when you enter a church. Other than that, you don't really see much representation. There's churches. I've never seen a synagogue. I've never seen a mosque. I've never seen a temple. But to see Graham to sit down and be like, in the way of the old world. Like, there's the speech he gives about how he sees Zion National Park as this whole holy ground, and how, like, he sees it as a state of mind, and he sees it as a holy place, and how he can influence his tribe, and how the white legs have come and taken from his people, and him just having to deal with the fact that he's just an angry old man, and how he can't, like, get over that, and he can't get over the loss at Hoover Dam. I mean, he's a physical representation of his loss at this point, but, like, just the whole area. It's the first time rain was ever introduced. The tribes. You see how Graham is a God-fearing, God-worshipping man who believes in the righteousness and the holiness and the holy cleansing fire. But he served Caesar, and Caesar is treated like a god. There is the cult of Mars. He is the person who is worshipped in the cult of Mars. He says it's not the fire outside. All the white moms who have, like, live, laugh, love underneath says, like, it's not the fire. I survived despite the fire around me, but the fire inside that kept me going. And I'm butchering the quote. But he went back to Ogden. He went back to New Canaan before it was demolished, and his people welcomed him in and said, you have a place with us. To see that, to see him trying to spread the word of his God, his religion, I adore this DLC. I love the area. The Survivalist Hidden quest is a top 10 quest, like, ever. Like, it's near perfect. I love the war building of 22. Vault 22, I love how you get to see these tribes and this mixture of like Spanish and their accents that have developed because culture is intertwining. That's something that I feel like isn't addressed enough, is how accents would blend and change. Like the Boston accent is a little too Boston-y for me. I love this DLC. It is S tier. Fight me on it. Tell me in the comments why I'm wrong. I absolutely adore this DLC. Next up, I have Wasteland Workshop. I'm putting this one at D. I think I play this one less than Contraptions. I'm going to look up the synopsis live for Wasteland Workshop. Wasteland Workshop is the second add-on for Fallout 4 and focus on the Workshop feature. It adds a number of new world objects and the ability to build arenas to stage fights for captured humans and creatures. So, remember what I said about the hole at the pit? That, but I don't get to fight. I didn't even remember this one. Detail. Mothership Zeta. I'm putting this one at A, and I know that's gonna bother somebody, but I just love black and white, super cheesy, super low budget sci-fi from the 50s and 60s. And I feel like this one just kind of captures it in its tone really well. Like, it's not the best DLC. For me, it's great. Like, I get it, you can't access more than half of the ship once you've done the DLC. But, like, getting to see all these characters that are throughout different time periods, and yes, I don't know how they're alive. I'm with you. I don't understand that. But it also kind of lends itself to this cheesy late 50s, early 60s, like, what if little green men landed on the White House front lawn? I really enjoy this one. The holotape side quest where you go find all of them, I think there's like 20 or 30 of them. It's super worth it, even if you only do it once, just to build out the world that is the Fallout universe is awesome. There's one, I think the dude's name is Vin, or Vinny, or Anthony, something Italian, in Brooklyn. My favorite one. My absolute favorite one. I remember, like, I was like, I don't know, 13 when I first played this, so I remember, like, showing my mom, like, Mom, come here, this guy's from Brooklyn. Like, I like this one. I have a lot of love in my heart for this one. It's cool that, like, I can actually, like, use my little alien blaster John after this because it gives you so much ammo. But Mothership Zeta for me is going in A tier. Lonesome Road. I'm going to put Lonesome Road in B tier. Now, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be upset with that, but I don't like this DLC all that much. I like how it brings Eddie's story out a little more. I love Ulysses. I love the lore of Ulysses. I love the twisted hairs. I love how he was talking to the White Legs and they started twisting their hairs in honor of him, but they didn't realize they were assimilating his culture. I really, really like a lot of things in this DLC. I don't like how linear it is. And I know it's a road. A road goes one of two ways. And you just follow the road. I get that. But I also don't like how he's like, hey, Courier, you've been through here. You destroyed Hopeville. You did this. No, I didn't. This is an RPG. Everybody talks about how Fallout New Vegas is a game where you can just make any character you want, and then you have this character. And I could be a bumbling moron from the sticks who barely knows how to read and heard that a courier job paid a lot, then got shot in the head by the dude from Friends, and then did this. Or I could be an NCR soldier and then walk away and be like, oh, I guess I didn't realize I was NCR. Or I could have been in Kaisar's Legion. I could have been one of the guys at the tops. Like, I could have been a Gamora. I could have been part of Red Lucy's group. Like, I could have been all these things. No, you were a courier. You've been a courier. Here's what you did. You destroyed Hopeville. No, I didn't. That's my number one. On the channel, there's a stream that I did of New Vegas. The whole thing. And I get there, and I'm like, I didn't do this. My character did not do this. NCR Chuck worked for the NCR and did not do this. That's what bothers me so much about this DLC. Everything else is great. I love all the Eddie stuff. Like I said, I love all the Ulysses stuff. I hate how it's like, hey, guess what, schmuck? You did this. No, I don't want to have done this. It's an RPG. If you're going to get mad about me leaving the vault looking for my dad and that's too much backstory, this is too much backstory. And it's hidden behind a paywall. Lonesome Road goes in B tier. And last, I have Operation Anchorage, which is going into B tier. I know it isn't the best. I like the idea of this pre-war propaganda that you kind of get to partake in. It's not real, but it gives you an idea of what's going on in Alaska. I really want to see something like that. I've said a million times before on the podcast that I want to see more stuff in Alaska. It is the US. I'd like to see what's going on. There's probably some Chinese remnants that kind of integrated with American soldiers. There's probably people that are still holding out the same prejudice from 200 years ago. I want to see what's going on there. And to give us a glimpse at what pre-war culture, even though it's this inflated propaganda, just to see that is super, super neat. And I really, really, really enjoy that. At the end of the game, you get a bunch of great rewards, like the winterized T-51, you get the Gauss rifle, you get the stealth suit, you get a bunch of like stim packs and like a missile launcher. I like it. It was the first one, if I remember correctly, for Fallout 3. I like it. Not the best, but it holds a special spot in my heart. It was like the first time I knew what DLC was, really. Like, I thought DLC was map packs for Halo, and then this comes around. So I'm putting Operation Anchorage right there in B tier. So that's it. Behind me is the tier list, the Fallout DLC tier list. Let me know what you think. Shout out to the Patreon, shout out to the Redbubble, join the Discord, tell me what you're thinking. Links to all the socials below. Be safe, have fun, I love you, goodbye.